I'm excited to be up here this morning to give this lesson, speaking life to your world. Speaking life to your world. Speaking life to your world. This is a continuation of the series that we're currently on called More Life. More life. More life. Who's looking for more life? Who could use more life? I'm going to tell you something before I get more into this lesson. Do you know that all the life you need, you already have? Do you know that God really can't give us any more of itself? It's really a matter of us waking it up to more of God. Speaking life to your world. I want to start this morning by asking you a couple of questions about life so I can just simply gauge where we are right now, okay? First question. How many of you are looking to experience more of the abundant life? Yeah. I could use more. How many of you are looking to experience more happiness in life? Yeah. How many of you are looking to experience a life of wholeness and health? Yeah. Okay, I'm getting a pretty good gauge right now where we are. How many of you believe there is power in your spoken word? All right. So I think we can move forward with this lesson right now, Henrietta. I think we all want to live the more abundant life that Jesus said that we can live. I think most of us have been living life, but we might not have been living life to the level of more. So today what I want us to begin to do is I want us to begin to make this commitment that I am going to begin living life to the level of more. Instead of me just simply living life at the level I've been living it at, I understand there is more of God for me to realize. I know there's more of God to be filled into my consciousness. I know there is more of God for me to experience. So I want to begin right now living life at this level of more. Can we do that? All right. I'm going to talk this morning about this world you live in and the authority you have to speak more life into any area of the world that you need it. I want us to begin talking about speaking more of life into any area of life that you feel that you need it. I want us to begin to look at maybe some dead areas in our world, begin to look at maybe some areas that might seem to be a little lethargic or a little sluggish that we might need to might need to speak a little bit more life into, okay? I want us to get ready to wake up this morning, energize ourselves, and empower ourselves in those areas where we need to speak more life. Here at Christ Universal Temple, we believe that it's God's will for every individual, not just some, but we believe that it's God's will for every individual to live a what? Healthy, happy, and what? Prosperous life. That's what we say, right? And that's what we believe, right? Sometimes I wonder, though, are we living up to our full potential? Are we living up to our full potential of healthy lives, happy lives, and prosperous lives? Are we living that healthy, happy, and prosperous life, or are there some areas in our lives that might need a little bit of attention? A little bit of attention. You know, I believe most of us are living great lives, right? But one thing I do believe is this, is that there are some areas of my life that I know needs a little bit more attention. I'm not as prosperous as I want to be. I know that I need some more attention in that area. I'm not as healthy as I want to be. I know I might need some more attention in that area. I'm not as happy as I want to be. I might need some more attention in that area. I'm doing well in all three of those areas, but I believe in this idea of more. I believe in this idea of more. If God wants me to have more, if God wants me to experience more, I'm opening myself up to God so that I can have more, so I can experience more, so that I can be and I can have and I can live in the will of God. God wants me to live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life, and God, I want to live that life, and I want to live it to the fullest. Sometimes our world doesn't necessarily reflect what we say God's will is for us. Sometimes it doesn't always reflect that. What does your world look like? Does it look the way you want it to look? I was speaking to someone recently, and they were telling me that their world has somewhat changed over the years. That they have more challenges now than they are used to having. Some of them are health challenges, some of them are financial challenges, but their life is not necessarily what it used to be. Their world has somewhat changed through the years. But the encouraging part of the conversation I had with this person, Evelyn, was this person said, even though my world has shifted somewhat, even though my lifestyle has shifted somewhat, the person said, I still believe in God. The person said that I still believe that as long as I continue to trust in God and work with God, that even though my world might seem a little different right now, I believe that as long as I stay in the consciousness and in the trust of God, God will continue to sustain me and continue to maintain me. So sometimes our world begins to look a little bit different. What are we talking about when I talk about world? I want to use a definition that Charles Fillmore gives us in the Revealing Word. Charles Fillmore says this about world. He says, the world is a state of consciousness formed through the belief in the reality of things external. He says, it leads a person to follow standards of living based on man's opinion rather than truth. So when we talk about world, we are talking about what? A state of consciousness. That's not necessarily based on truth, but a lot of times, a lot of things in our world are based on our belief. And sometimes our beliefs are not based on truth, but sometimes our beliefs are based on our upbringing. Sometimes our beliefs are based on cultural influences. Sometimes our beliefs are based on something that mama and daddy told us. Sometimes our beliefs are based on just some opinions that we came up with. And what happens is this. Your world is a state of consciousness. So everything that's in my world, when I begin to look at my world, if I am not in agreement of what I like or what I see in my world, then since my world is a state of consciousness, the thing that needs to be changed, if I need my world to be changed, the thing that needs to be changed is what? My consciousness. That's the only way I can begin to change the things in my world is if I begin to work on my consciousness. Because my world is a reflection of what? My state of consciousness. You see, I am the creator and the instigator of my world. If there is something about my world that I don't like, and that I think has now dominated me, I could begin to affirm today the truth and begin to deny that any of this stuff that I don't agree with, any of this stuff that is not based on truth, I can begin today to deny that this thing has any power over me. I have that power. I have that authority. You see, my responsibility, because I am the creator and instigator of my world, my responsibility is to make sure that in my consciousness, I am creating a type of atmosphere in my consciousness that will create for me, that will bring forth in my world that which I truly desire, that which is based on truth, that which is based on God's highest for me. And I say I'm an instigator. What people who instigate, what do? They normally jump in, right? I am the creator and the instigator, so I need to begin to instigate. I need to begin to jump into some of these areas of my consciousness that needs some attention. I'm paraphrasing Jesus, but Remember when Jesus says, I am in this world, but what? I'm not of this world. What was he talking about? He was telling his disciples, I see the stuff that is going on around me, but I'm not going to attach myself to that stuff, especially if it's not for my highest good. Jesus said, I'm walking among you. I see everything that's happening, but I'm not going to attach myself to it, because once I begin to attach myself to it, I become one of it. And my job is not to become one of it. My job is to lift you above it. So Jesus said, I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. My thinking operates at a higher level than this stuff that's going on. As long as I continue, as long as I operate at the level of the stuff that's going on, then guess what? My world will not change. The only way my world can change is if I make that decision to elevate my consciousness to a level higher than the stuff. My job is to connect my consciousness with God's consciousness. So Jesus knew that he could not do the work that he had to do as long as he took on the stuff. Jesus said, no, I didn't come to take on the stuff. I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. And the only way you can have this life and have it more abundantly is if I teach you. If I teach you that there's a greater life inside of you. Huh. And that's what he came to do. He came to reveal some stuff to us. He came to show us how we too can do it for ourselves. And you don't have to be so dependent on somebody else trying to do it for you. Because once you become dependent on somebody else trying to do it for you or even speak the word for you, then guess what? You are then subjected to their time frame. You are then subjected to their level of consciousness. No, I know what God wants from me. Let me speak it for myself according to the consciousness I have built up that's in accord with God. We need to begin speaking a new language. one that is reflective of the world we desire. We must begin speaking life to our world so we can begin to live the life God desires for us, and that deep inside we desire for ourselves. You see, it's one thing for God to desire something for you, but it's something else for you to desire the same thing that God desires for you. You see, this is the thing about God. God is always desiring the best for me. God is always desiring me to experience more of it. God is always desiring me to live a healthy, happy, and prosperous life. But guess what? No matter how much God is desiring all of that for me, if I don't accept it, I can't experience it. My God. So in order for me to begin to speak a new language, because I want to speak life into my world, I want to speak more life into my world, I must learn some new words and know the power of my words. What are words? Words are the vehicles through which ideas make themselves manifest. Words that have in them the realization of perfect, everywhere present, always present divine life, and our oneness with this life are dominant in the restoration of life and health. Words are formative. And words can also be creative. Words are creative if you are bringing forth the words from the creative mind. But all words are formative. Words can change your life. You know that, don't you? The words that we speak are the expressed thoughts of consciousness. So you say all the time, how do you know what I'm thinking? How do you know what I'm going through? Because the words that you have said, they have manifested themselves in your life. And I'm just looking at what has come forth, what has manifested themselves in your life. That's for everyone. That's for everyone. I was talking to someone recently, and they were surprised that I knew. They thought I knew a lot about them. I just knew a tidbit about them. Like, how did you know that? Did somebody tell you that? No, ain't nobody tell me nothing. I just like to observe people. You can learn a lot about people if you observe them. And guess what? You can learn a lot about yourself if you observe yourself. Words. The words that we speak are the expressed thoughts of consciousness. You would not be able to speak it if you didn't first think it. You will not be able to speak it if you first didn't think it. So a lot of times we say, I didn't mean to say that. Yes, you did. Now that might be an opportunity for you to correct something in your thinking, but you did mean to say that because it was something that you had entertained in your thinking. Words just don't come out all by themselves out of the void. No. We have to take responsibility for the things we say, because the things we say are always forming something in our lives. So one of the things I need to look at when I begin to look at my life and begin to say, okay, this is an area of my life that needs some more work done because I'm looking for more life in this area. One of the things I must begin to do, Fred, is I must begin to look at my conscience, and I need to begin to look at my thinking. Because I want to make sure that the words that are coming out of my mouth, they are affirming, they are powerful, they are uplifting. And they cannot be affirming and powerful and uplifting if my thinking is not affirming, powerful, and uplifting. You get what I'm saying? One of the major rules for changing your life is simply speak only words that express positive thoughts. Say no word that expresses a negative thought of any kind. What is a negative thought? A negative thought is any thought that acknowledges or suggests lack of any kind, or anger, fear, envy, jealousy, or any other idea that is not compatible with goodness. That's a negative thought. What is a positive thought? A positive thought is any thought that acknowledges fulfillment, prosperity, success, health, love, or any other idea that is wholly compatible with goodness. Someone once said, be careful what you say. You can say something hurtful in 10 seconds, but 10 years later, the wounds are still there. How many of us are still walking around wounded because of what someone said to us out of spite, anger, or resentment. You see, when we're talking about speaking life into your world, we have a responsibility, to speak not only life into our world, but also speak life into other people's world. We don't have a right to kill somebody with our words. We don't have a right to put somebody down. We don't have that right to kill somebody's dreams. You don't have that right. What you are supposed to do and what you have a right to do is to speak words that will uplift that person. If you see they're down, then contact the spirit that's inside of them, because it's the same spirit that's in you, and talk to that spirit of that person and lift them up. And don't be afraid that if you lift them up, there will be less of God's goodness for you. There's enough for everybody. And if you were walking around because of what somebody once told you 10 years ago, and you're walking around wounded, I want this to be the day that you stop it. I want this to be the day that you stop it. Ain't nobody worth you walking around wounded. They didn't know what they were saying anyway. You just simply allow somebody else's opinion to create your world. But you got to get to the point where, no, your opinion does not create my world. What I think of me creates my world. Jesus said, the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. You should not speak any words that are not of spirit, and if they do not affirm life. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit. Why was Jesus able to say they are spirit? Because what Jesus knew that he had to do whenever he spoke, Jesus went to a place inside of him and opened himself up for the space inside of him to speak through him. Jesus allowed God to speak through him. So because Jesus allowed God to speak through him and understood that he was a channel, Jesus, I think, would say, okay, let me get myself out the way, because it's not about me. Okay, God, whatever it is that you need me to say, whatever it is you need me to teach, you teach it through me. I'm just your mouthpiece, God. See, this was Jesus' attitude. I'm just your mouthpiece, God. And because Jesus knew that he was just God's mouthpiece, he knew that God was life. And because God is life, anything that comes out of him from God must affirm life. He knew that anything that came out of his mouth must be life-affirming, must be positive, must be uplifting, must be healing, must be words of peace. He knew that. Get this. When you speak, where are your words coming from? Just something to think about. What kind of words are we speaking into life? What kind of words are we speaking about others? You see, our language might need a little bit of working. Our language might need a little bit of working. One of my favorite books is The Four Agreements. And the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. I love that one. Be impeccable with your word. It means to speak with integrity and to say only what you mean. See, We got to stop putting stuff out there in the universe and then say, oh, universe, I didn't mean that. You see, because the universe ain't going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what you meant and what you didn't mean. The universe just simply saying, okay, you tell me what it is that you want. Stop the game playing. Become focused. Become disciplined. And just tell me what it is that you want. And once you tell me what you want, then guess what? I'll bring it into your experience. So the first group says, be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. How do you speak with integrity? You speak with integrity by speaking words of truth. You speak with integrity by speaking words that are life-affirming. You speak with integrity by speaking words that are not opposed to truth. You speak with integrity when you begin to say, okay, God, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable. Talk about speaking with integrity. I want to get you home in time for the Bears in Green Bay. I want to give you 4 points of how do you effectively speak life to your world. How do you effectively speak life to your world? Number 1, speak life from the inner word. Speak life from the inner word. What do you mean by that? In John it says, in the beginning was what? The Word. And the Word was? And the Word was. Speak life from the inner word. That means, let me go to headquarters first. Let me go to headquarters first. Let me go to headquarters first and begin to speak life from that word that God gave me in the beginning, which is God. Understand this word is to create a power. So let me begin to speak life from this inner word. Because as I begin to use this inner word, which is to create a power, what happens is this: as I begin to speak life from the inner word, I begin to see God showing up in ways I've never seen God show up before, because I never spoke words from God before. But once I begin to speak words from God, then something happens. I begin to see what some folks call miracles, but I know that it's simply the perfect outworking of God in my life, because I know how to speak the word now from that inner word. When I begin to speak life from that inner word, I begin to speak life of health and life of wholeness and life of healing, because that inner word, that creative power, that Christ, that God itself that has been planted inside of me, I'm speaking from that word. So whatever comes forth from that word must show up as the image and after the likeness of that word, which is God. Number 2, got to get through these. Number 2. Speak life with consistency. Jesus was the most consistent speaker I know. You got to speak life with consistency. You cannot go back and forth day to day. One day I'm going to speak health. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about how sick I am. Today I'm going to talk about how prosperous I am. And once I leave church, I'm going to talk about all these bills for Christmas that's coming due. No, you got to speak life with consistency. Consistency. You must affirm God's life consistently. God's life is my life. It's the only life I know. I live out of God's life. I move out of God's life. I breathe out of God's life. This is the words that I must use on a day-to-day basis. I can't skip a day. I can't even skip a thought. but I must speak life consistently. If I need a healing in my body, let me speak words of life day after day after day. And because somebody comes in my space and they don't know any better and speak something differently, let me deny that that has any power. I'm going to stay centered and focused on that which I know is the truth. Can nobody throw me off? Speaking life, how? Consistently. Number 3, speak life with an expectation. Expect something to happen when you speak. Expect something to happen when you speak. Expect something to happen when you speak. Repeat after me. I expect something to happen when I speak. Know that your words cannot come back to you void, but they must accomplish everything that you send them forth to do. So every word that proceeds out of my mouth, I expect something to happen. When I speak prosperity, I expect that brings Trump to come on up to my door. When I speak health, I expect whatever is going on in my body to straighten itself up. I expect my cells to become well. I expect something to happen when I speak because I know there's power and there's authority in my spoken word. I expect to see more of life when I speak more of life. My consciousness is becoming more awakened now to God. And as my consciousness becomes more awakened to God, I begin to see God in a bigger picture now. I begin to see God in everything I do. I begin to see God all over my body. I begin to see God in everybody. I begin to see God brand new. So I speak what? Expecting something to happen. Number 4, speak life in alignment with the presence of God. I'm going to read the scripture. John 5:19-21. Jesus was talking to his disciples, and he was also talking to some people who were trying to arrest him. Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, the Son can do nothing on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise. I love that. The Father loves the Son. He loves me and shows him all that he himself is doing. And he will show him greater works than these, so that you will be astonished. Indeed, just as the Father raises the dead and gives them life, so also the Son gives life to whomever he wishes. Speak life and get yourself in the alignment of the presence of God. Jesus says he see how God's work. So Jesus said, because I see how the Father works, I've studied the Father. I know what God can do. I've seen the mechanics. I've seen the principles. This is Jesus right now. He said, I've seen all of that. And because I am the Son, because I am the Son, and I know my rightful inheritance, and I know because I'm the Son, I have the same attributes and the same qualities of God. So as I see my Father work and I see my Father raise the dead, I can also speak to dead situations and begin to speak life into those situations. If something's going on in my body, I can speak to my body. If something's going on in my finances, I can speak to my finances. I can speak to anything that looks dead in my life and raise it back up if I need to. Look at the person next to you and tell that person next to you, I speak life to you. Say, I speak life to you. I speak life to you. Understand there's only one life, and that's God's life. I want more of it. I want more of it. I want more of it. And I want you to have all of it. God bless.